What's going on, guys? Today we are back, and today we are back at work on the 2UZ swap in my 1989 Toyota pickup. Brought to you in part by Overland Outfitters. Now, last time you guys saw this thing, I got the engine mounts made and I got the engine mounted into place. And honestly, right now, it doesn't look much different. So I've done a whole bunch of like little tiny things like hooking up vacuum and heater hoses and belt and like a whole bunch of stuff off of camera because, I mean, it only took me a few minutes to do each and it's pretty straightforward. But let me show you what I've done. So let's start back here at the heater hoses. Now, I didn't have to go to the parts store or get anything fancy to do this. These are just a combination of both the 3-liter stuff and the 2UZ stuff. You can see where it comes out of the block there and loops over and into the heater core. And of course, yeah, there is the heater control valve right there. And this one's the same way. It just comes straight up from the block, loops, and straight in. That is the factory 2UZ hose. And yeah, this is a combination of hoses. And the throttle cable is also connected. This is actually my stock 3-liter throttle cable, and it mounts perfectly in the 2UZ holder here, and when you go inside the cab and give it throttle, it does the full rotation of the throttle body, which is perfect. Just routed, boop, back behind the intake, and then in the firewall there. So now, let's talk about the power steering lines. These are the exact same lines I was running with the 3.4 swap. They are a trail gear product. I think they list them as like a Tacoma solid axle swap IFS box steering lines or something like that. As you can see, it goes right into my steering box, up and over top, and this side drops down to the power steering pump, and then yeah, the return goes up and to the power steering reservoir, which also goes down to the pump. On the 3.4, I ran these below. On the 2UZ, the pump has the fittings facing straight up, so it was easiest and looked best to run it over top. Like I said, I did a whole bunch of little things to this engine, and I'm not even done showing you all of them. But before we get to that, I just want to interrupt real quick to let you know, if you have any questions whatsoever, make sure you leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to them or address them in the next video. Anyways, yeah, let's get back to this. Let's talk about the belt. So obviously the 2UZ did have an air conditioning pump over here when I got it. I deleted the AC pump because, I mean, this is a non-AC truck, so I wouldn't use it even if it was there. Because of that, I had to kind of custom configure how I wanted to run this belt. And this is the solution I came up with. I ordered a non-AC belt and then it was still too long for some reason. So I took that belt I ordered anyways and used it to measure the exact length of belt I needed, and then went to the auto parts store and picked up a belt that was the right length. And if you're interested in the part number 6K615, that is a AC Delco belt. Another possible way to run this belt is to go down and over the fan pulley on the inside and then back over the crank. Honestly, that's probably a better way of running it, but this belt that I picked up isn't quite long enough to achieve that. So for now, I'm just gonna run this setup, and I mean, maybe I'll change it out in the future, I'm not too sure. And on the engine harness going into the cab, there is this really convenient mount that was on the 2UZ harness. I drilled a hole there and mounted it up so it's right here on the inner fender. And then I did exactly what I did with the 3.4 swap. I kept the stock 3-liter grommet and pushed the rest of the harness through it. So it still kind of mostly looks factory there. And last but not least, the transmission and dual transfer cases are officially mounted. So the official measurement for how far I actually moved the tranny back is 2 3/4 inches. And of course with that, the factory holes are not gonna work. And the solution for the mounting was actually pretty simple. This trail gear crossmember that I have for the dual transfer cases has a lot of meat in it. So all I did was mark the factory rear bolt holes and then drill them out in the crossmember and yeah, fire some bolts in there. I need to come up with a solution to get at least a couple more bolts in per side. Good news! My rear sump oil pan for a 1UZ came in today. Bad news is it's not gonna work. Well, it's not gonna work as it is stock. And there it is, the rear sump oil pan. As you can see, it definitely clears the steering by a mile. That's not even an issue, but it's this corner right here that is gonna be a problem. So when I hit a bump really good, the pumpkin is definitely gonna smash right into the oil pan. Now I do have a solution for this. I'm going to take it off, I'm going to notch this corner of the oil pan and weld in a piece of steel so that it's at an angle here. So when I hit a bump, it comes up into the notch instead of creaming the pan. And as you can tell, the rear sump just isn't quite rear sump enough. Now there is companies that make true rear sump kits for these UZ engines, but I already purchased this factory rear sump oil pan, so I figured I'd try to make it work. Check out what just showed up, my radiator solution. So this is a 1KZ diesel radiator. It is 3-row and it is significantly bigger than the 3-liter radiator. And the best part about this, it bolts right into place where the 3-liter radiator was. Boom. You know what else recently showed up? These guys. These are dual 10-inch electric fans, and I'm going to run them on the inside of the radiator. And they do fit. This is about how I'm going to mount them. They're going to be staggered like this, but first, I got to build some sort of fan shroud to actually mount these things. So I've been digging through the wiring a bit here and cutting back harnesses and trying to figure out what exactly does what. And I found that this plug here, which is located up by the battery, is in charge of both the starter and the alternator wiring. Now for my swap, I'm actually going to use the 3-liter alternator harness. But as you can see, going into the alternator on the 3-liter, there is 3 wires. And of course, your main power wire. And if you look at the 2UZ alternator plug, it is the exact same thing. And 2 of the colors are the same. It's got a white wire and this yellow wire with the blue tracer. So this 2UZ plug is going to get spliced onto my 3-liter harness, and then the alternator circuit is done for. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Dirt Garage. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to give me a thumbs up if you like this stuff and subscribe. I upload weekly Toyota, wheeling, building, off-roading content. Anyways, guys, we'll see you next week. Peace.
I'ma make a couple stacks, do exactly what I want to. Mix a couple tracks, get a lady that I'm drawn to. Turn up to the max, get me faded till I'm gone, dude. I do what I want, couldn't stop me if you wanted to. I just work hard, yeah, harder than the rest. Some people say I'm lucky, others say I'm